longer than any other team to integrate. You know, I mean, a lot of people talk about how great television was in the 70s. It seemed like it was great because there were some really good shows and only 3 networks. Well, but here's the thing. TV, I would say, television has more better hours of programming now than before. The problem is, the pool is this big, as opposed to this big. So FX may have 3 good hours, and TNT may have 2 good hours, and Comedy Central may have 1 good hour, and Cartoon Network may have an hour and a half. And you add it all up, and like, wow, that's a lot of good TV, but it's spread out. Okay? But again, people romanticize. It's like saying, you know, movies were better in the 60s, and then you go back and you watch Jimmy Stewart and Greatest Show on Earth, which won the best picture, and it's just a schmaltz fest, you know? So I really think a lot of G1 fans have this image in their head of what the show was because they were kids at the time. So you romanticize the animation, you romanticize some of the writing, you romanticize a little, and before you know it, the thing is better in your memory than it actually was. You know, I go back and watch episodes of Jabberjaw, and it's just not as good as I remember. You know?
I made us watch Star Blazers and thought the same thing when they saw it years later.
Yeah.
Went, how dirty was this?
Right. Exactly. I mean, or for instance, you watch Superman, or you watch Star Wars, and think, I remember seeing that 20 years ago as a little kid, and thinking those special effects were amazing. And you watch them now and go, I thought that was good? Oh, man.
Star Wars, after seeing the first movie series,
right.
That was still proven a lot better.
Exactly. But, you know, well, nowadays it's hard to see the original stuff. Well, yeah, they keep having special editions, but that's George's story is right. So I think G1 fans, if they give it a little bit of flexibility, I think they'll be happy. I don't think it'll fly in their faces completely, but if they're hard lining it, they're asking to be disappointed. But well, let me just say, the way I found out that I lost the job after Robots in Disguise, we were at a convention in Indiana, a Transformer convention. We were the guests of honor, flown out from LA, put up in a hotel, do all this stuff. And they have a special dinner on Friday night for guests for attendees who register really early. And they get up and they announce that we're here and they introduce us. And we're dressed in suits, like, you know, a lot nicer than I am now. And they announce, and this is after the summer where all of us were in contact with our agents. We knew there was another Transformer series called Armada that was going to get done, but nobody contacted us. Saban, that had just produced the other show, was bought out by Fox. So Fox had owned it, and now they didn't have the show, blah, 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 this and that. What was going on? So the organizers of the event said, as a special treat, we have the first episode of Armada that we're going to show you. At which point, we all turn to each other and say, I guess we're out of a job. That was the first we had heard of it. The people who did that to us were not in the room. They were not our hosts. No. So it's like, but when the lights went down and the show started going on, we did lean in and say, how do we sneak out of here and not insult our host? And the answer was, we don't. We sat there for 22 minutes and watched. And I'm going to say this as an animation fan, as somebody who's always watched cartoons, that thing was a piece of shit. Okay? But people who heard me say something to that effect that night thought it was bitter great, you know. It's just, you know, bitter great. You're upset, you lost a job, and that's why you're saying that. It's like, no, I'm saying that because the kid characters are stupid. I'm saying that because the animation's bad. I'm saying that because the directing on the voice acting sounded like it was done by a fourth grader. I'm saying that because the guy who's doing Megatron sounds like a really bad impersonation of Sean Connery. I'm saying that because the guy who played Optimus Prime sounds like he has no personality whatsoever. You know? I'm not comparing it to me, I'm comparing it to voice acting, period. And I got vilified. I got ripped. Nobody could possibly understand, well, why are you upset? You just found out you lost, possibly. I'm still a kid inside, which is why I love this work. Which is why when I found out I was playing Optimus Prime, I was thrilled. So to find out that way that I lost the job was kind of a bummer. I am human. It just kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. Forgive me. So that was an interesting situation. And now a couple years later, people on the internet admit Armada was a crappy series. Oh, I guess it wasn't sour grapes, Neil. I guess you weren't, just whistling Dixie. You actually knew what you were talking about. But yeah! I'm an audience. That's the way I act, that's the way I direct, that's the way I write. Is what would I like to see and or hear as an audience member? Same thing I do when I'm voice acting. Same thing I do when I'm doing anything. I'm watching that thing as a fan and just going, wow, this is horrible. And I'm talking to people outside, and this is one of the problems with the fan of anything. We are addicts. Okay? I'm a baseball fan. And these people took away from me the World Series 2 years ago. And they had the nerve to come back. I was like one of those little lemmings who just went right back. Take my money! Here, treat me like dirt! Do you have any big stars who can sneer at me? Do you have any really famous people who can ignore my 9-year-old little brother who's trying to get an autograph? Take my money! I'm the same way. It's an addiction to hear these Transformer fans sometimes. Come on in! Getting ready for the next panel? We need to get out of here anyway. I'm in the lobby of this convention hearing Transformer fans complain about the quality of the toys as they're tearing open these boxes and playing with them. It's like, well, if you're disappointed with the quality, why didn't you just spend the money? Because I don't have it in my collection. So why in the world should a company spend more money and keep the quality up if they know they're going to sell that product anyway? Why make a good movie if you know people are going to go see it and clean it up? Why make a good TV show if people are going to watch it even if if the voice acting is horrible? Okay? It's like, why worry? Why worry about quality when the fans buy it anyway? So if you're disappointed with something, well, that's the way to complain. A, with your wallet, and B, with your pen. Okay? I'll tell you the same thing I told Transformer fans years ago when they were talking about putting this movie together. If you want this movie made a certain way, you take out a piece of paper, you take out a pen, you write a letter. Because when a studio gets a letter from somebody, when Nickelodeon gets a written letter from somebody about one of their shows, they figure nobody writes anymore, but it gets on the internet. When you send an email, they figure that's the opinion of a half a person or less. Because it's so easy for people who are motivated to get a different email account, go and register, go and write an email. So people who are really passionate on the internet have ways to make them seem like they're 10 people. And they know that. Writing letters used to stand for the opinion of 10 people. Nowadays, it probably stands for the opinion of 100 people, or 150 people, or possibly closer to 500. Because nobody takes out a piece of paper and a pen and finds out the address and writes about it. So if there's anything you guys care about, that's the best way to do it. Okay? They're still working on this movie. If there's something that they haven't done yet you care about, write a letter. Okay? If you hear the characters maybe going to die on one of your favorite shows, write a letter. Forget the internet. Don't use email things. And unless you're going to get a bunch of people together, you know, on your list of, you know, on your list of support. I'm one of the dorks who likes to think they got the Star Trek movie made back in 1979. Okay? I wrote letters. Paramount. 10-year-old kid writes letters. They make this movie. Gotta be with the same cast, but I won't see it. They made the movie and they made it with the same cast. You know, that's an excellent example of, and that was before internet. That was before the fans could write to each other and go to websites and find out how are we going to do this. We could do it back then, 25 years ago and more. You guys can do it now. Whether it's going to be, you know, the Transformers movie or geez, everything else. You know, movies that are made for fans are kind of tough. I think Electra was made for fans. Actually, I take it back. Not Electra, Daredevil was made for fans. Trust me, I can find you worse. But I'll tell you what, the reason I say it was made for fans is because I watched the DVD extras and I saw what kind of care they took in going to the original source material, to the original, and like panel for panel showing me, we got this scene, it was from this comic. Wow, if that's not making a movie for the fans, I don't know what is. And they forgot to make a good movie. You know? I love Spider-Man. It didn't bother me that it wasn't a radioactive spider that did it. I went with it. It's like, okay, for the sake of storytelling, they're doing it this way. Fine, I'm with it. I'm with you. That works. The problem is, too, when suddenly a guy loses his superpowers and he's not sure if he wants them. You know, it's like, I hope I don't spoil Superman for anybody, but excuse me. Superman gone for 5 years, Clark Kent gone for 5 years, they both show up on the same day. Yeah, but that's always been the case. That's always been the case.
How many jokes have they done on the internet about, like, I love the black people make it all from the side. That's all you need.
But, you know, I mean, I can go with that one. I can go with that one just a little bit. But as a screenwriter, at some point, don't you go, well, it doesn't really work for me. You know, let's try something else. Like as a storyteller, personally, I think it's better if Clark Kent would have made a conscious decision that since he can't save the whole world, that he would save nobody. You know, I liken it to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, very popular guy, a lot of people want to talk about, right? Barry walks past a group of 1,000 people, all saying, Barry, Simon, Barry, Simon, Barry, Simon. He walks through, he's got 1,000 disappointed people. He signs for 500 people. You know what he has? 500 pissed off people. Okay? Nobody gets on the internet and writes about how they're happy. People don't talk about how they're satisfied with something. They only complain. Okay? Like, you know, and I've gotten this from conventions that I've done, where I'll spend hours talking to somebody individually, about voice acting, or I'll coach them a little bit. That guy doesn't get on the internet and write anything. The one guy that gets on the internet is the guy that says, you know, NielKaplan was swimming in the pool before the convention and didn't say hello to anybody. He's a jerk. I'm a voice actor. I don't think anybody recognizes me. I'm not going to go up and say, hi, I'm NielKaplan, I'm Optimus. How are you? You know, I don't do that. When somebody comes up and talks to me, I'm going to talk to you. I'm a regular guy. You know, so that's sometimes it's better to disappoint everybody than to piss off somebody. You know, as weird as that sounds. Anyway, guys, I think we got to turn over the room to next panel. If you want to be out in the hall signing up.